Welcome back to the Crypto Power Hour, of course, powered by SOLANA Global, with your hosts, georgeballoutine, Lance Migliaccio, the Crypto Bros. In crypto, we trust. On this show, it's your ultimate deep dive into everything crypto, blockchain, and decentralized finance. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just stepping into the world of digital assets, we bring you expert insights, top interviews, exciting new projects, breaking news, and game-changing innovations shaping the future of digital assets. You can count on us, as usual, for no hype, no fluff, just real talk, real strategies, and real opportunities in the world of crypto. Because on this show, in crypto, we trust. My brother, George Balloutine, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, this is the last show of the day for Friday, man. It's third and done. It's a weekend. We got a great lineup today. These guys are very smart, intuitive. And they got a lot to share. I was looking forward to this interview all week, and you know what, Lance? Why are we wasting time? Let's get these guys on. People want to hear what they have to say.
Today, we're joined by Paul Chou, CEO and co-founder of LedgerAI and co-founder of LedgerX. And of course, Bob Carella, CFO, co-founder of LedgerAI and CEO, founder of BobFi. Listen, guys, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. Of course, Kirk and Antonio couldn't be here. They had some other pressing matters, but we're gonna carry on. I don't think it's an issue. How you guys doing today?
Great. Thanks for having us, Lance and George.
Yeah, we've been looking forward to this all week as well.
So. And another pair of crypto bros. So
yeah, and of course, this show is all about educating people, letting them know about opportunities and changes in the blockchain world. And it's important. So many people out there don't have that experience. Bob, I know that's one of your big backgrounds, is educating people and kind of through BobFi, teaching them about crypto. I guess I want to start, Paul. Let me just run through a little bit of your bio for the audience, because you guys have both got so much experience, and I think in this world, the general public is still struggling with understanding how this is going to impact their life. And what you guys have created is 100% a product that could impact so many different industries. I think it's important, but Paul is recognized. He's a recognized leader in AI and blockchain, institutional finance. He's been shaping the future of intelligent enterprise solutions and digital assets for a long time. And of course, he's CEO and co-founder of LedgerAI. He drives the AI-powered business intelligence and blockchain integration to transform governance, strategy, and finance. MIT, I'm impressed by that. That's not easy. Graduate in mathematics and electrical engineering and computer science. Wow. His expertise spans high-frequency trading, DeFi, AI analytics. Of course, he co-founded LedgerX. Anybody that hasn't been living under a rock knows all about them. And of course, he's the first U.S. federally regulated crypto derivatives exchange. He was previously a trader at Goldman Sachs from 2010 to 2014. And Bob, I'm going to jump right into you. You've been a driving force in finance and blockchain and enterprise strategy, deep expertise in financial operations, tokenized ecosystems, corporate finance. And as the co-founder and CFO of LedgerAI, you lead the financial strategies, tokenomics, and investment planning to ensure sustainable growth. You're also the founder and CEO of BobFi, as I previously stated, advising on payroll, human capital, financial structuring, formerly global head of payroll and stock administration at Binance. Of course, everybody knows Binance and Sprinkler. He managed multi-billion-dollar programs across global compliance and digital asset compensation. An adjunct professor at Drew University, Bob teaches innovative cryptocurrency solutions. I'm sure everybody could use some of that, including myself and George. And you've got a BA in political science. We share that. I actually have a BA in political science from CSU, and you're also in business and MBA in finance management. So you clearly have a very, very deep background in this area. Listen, I want to talk about LedgerAI for a minute, because some people may not know about it. And since I've got the two experts about it, I had a short synopsis here, but I'd rather have you guys explain first what LedgerAI is, and if you can keep it in simple terms. Of course, you guys are both extremely bright. I don't want you to talk over my head. It might be easy to do so.
That's a big head.
It is a big head.
You credit. We're not as bright as you probably think, but we're okay. We know a little bit about what we're doing. So my previous company, LedgerX, was in exchange for derivatives around cryptocurrencies starting in 2014, and that was for cryptocurrency as a speculation tool, right? There's like really basically it was a platform, an on-ramp for individuals and investors to basically get exposure, just like any foreign exchange trader would do at a place like Goldman Sachs. And so LedgerAI is different in that, we're kind of like synthesizing both of them in the sense that the cryptocurrency is going to be paired with this AI solution, which is like our flagship product called AuraVision. And you have to pay AuraVision in our native cryptocurrency to use it. And we charge them based on usage and difficulty of what Aura is giving them in terms of advice. And it's going to be a very, very new model, something that I think every executive is going to want. I think maybe all families are going to want, and small law firms, like we've talked to, like 4 people, because it basically will take information and, synthesize, the stuff that their situation and their context, and monitor 24/7 what else is going on in the rest of the world and their competition, that kind of stuff, and then push, certain advice to them. Not like you don't have to ask it; it will tell you. So just think of a more extreme example, like chief of staff for the president of the United States. There are times when he's going to want to, just leave, Trump, let him sleep, and there are times where situations develop that he's going to wake him up at 3 a.m. And so that's the vision for him.
So you said you don't have to ask; it's going to tell you.
Yep.
It's like having a significant other, then, in that sense.
I mean, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like
They're going to tell you what's good for you. That's good.
Exactly, like whether you like it or not, kind of thing, right?
Right.
I mean,
But I think that's important, when you're
It
running
is.
a company or you're a world leader, or whether or not you're an attorney that's sitting on top of an important case. Let me start with this, because I want to get a little background for the audience. Where did you guys? Can you walk us through the origin story of LedgerAI, and what market gap or vision initially sparked the creation of this?
Yeah, so the last several years, as you mentioned, I was previously at Finance US, leading their financial operations, and Paul and I happened to be at the same. It's one of those stories, the same place at the same time. Has to be the perfect scenario to introduce. But I know who Paul was. He always would proudly wear his LedgerX sweatshirts and apparel all the time, promoting his company. And we were actually down in Atlantic City at Ocean Casino at an event, and we happened to be sitting at it sounds like a war dog story, but at the same blackjack table. I literally approached him. I was like, "Oh, hey, I'm Bob. I work at Binance," and that caught his attention. I don't know why. That's how it seems to work in the crypto world. But you mentioned what you did.
For sure.
That name always, of course, precedes itself. And Paul immediately, he was intrigued, and then he was intrigued with my style of play, based on my financial background.
I'm
And
surprised they let you guys play blackjack with your backgrounds. Surprised they
exactly.
haven't been using facial recognition to ban you in all the casinos.
Oh, yeah, exactly. With an MIT guy and a financial ops guy from
Wait, what was the movie with the MIT guys where they were
21
counting cards? Yeah, blackjack.
Yeah. Tell me that didn't give you some ideas. But go ahead from there.
But it was a very interesting dynamic, and then literally, after we got blasted at the table, losing all of our money, we ended up going to have a drink together and talking, and really getting in depth about our lives and our families, and what we wanted to do. And this was really right after the sale of LedgerX, so Paul was kind of figuring out the next thing he was going into. Taking part in what was called Foundation Coin, and still, actively working through that too. And I was very intrigued. And I also felt like, because I knew about him before me, and not that I was stalking him, but I felt like Ray Kroc in a way, back in the story of what attracted him to McDonald's. And I was always very intrigued with Ledger, just in general Ledger. And I always thought a Ledger token was always something that every company on earth could appreciate, especially the ones that do it correctly and have a general ledger and building their accounting processes and doing things how you should operate a company correctly. And that ledger narrative I thought would be fantastic for a token. And then Paul was very intrigued with AI, and that was really a booming word that was all of a sudden just at the same time just in our lives every day. And we started talking about it, and then we were like, let's build something for companies that can be in every single company, but something that is proactive in nature. Let's start and figure out what is missing at a board of director meeting? What is missing at the C-level execs? Not just the CEO, but the CRO and the chief revenue officers and sales, and ways to tie in all the operational stuff that I knew in corporate. And then with Paul's brilliance, what we could do with blockchain and figuring out how to mash the two. And that's what we came up with, Aura Vision, this network. And we'll talk about a little bit Project Hammerhead, which is the name of our hardware device, and some really cool, intriguing things. So when you have some brilliance in a team and our other co-founders, it just gelled. And, that's really the start of it. And then I was always very good in my life of, using my network, project managing and quarterbacking and general managing a team. So I assembled this team of Avengers, we could call it, with George Guinevart and David Lara and their incredible backgrounds. And the four of us,
Awesome.
we went out one time in New York City together. We talked on the phone previously, some ideas, just networking. And then we met, and then we knew it was a hit. George flew up from Miami. David was in New York City, and Paul and I came from New Jersey. And from that moment, we were at Milos and Hudson Yards. We had a hell of a night just talking. I think it was like the night that never ended, it actually felt. And literally till 3, 4 in the morning, I think it was. So,
some of those.
We don't want people stalking us at that point.
that's true.
No, but sometimes I think napkin innovation, some of those sessions when you meet the right people and a perfect storm happens. We've seen some of probably the biggest companies in the world get created on a napkin at a night out or at an event where people stop to have a couple of drinks or they just met for dinner. I don't think this is any different. I'm going to share with the audience. We're going to wait a little bit, but I'm going to share a sample of what this can potentially do. But I think it's really interesting. But I think I want to make sure the audience is clear how what Aura Vision is. It's obviously a clear component of your platform. Can you explain its role? I know you've got the newest version there. By the way, I don't know if you've shown this before.
You want to show the promo first?
I don't yet. I want to talk about this piece first, and then they can talk about it afterwards, because I've got an idea of how I want to present it. Because I want to make sure, of course, on this show, I sometimes backtrack or I stop interviews, stop them and say, hey, can you explain that? Because it's important, because some of the audience, we've got brand new people in the audience. We know it from Rumble. Right now, we're the #1 crypto show on Rumble. You guys, by the way, just so you know, this show's on the front page of Rumble. So we're getting the most impressions of any show for crypto, but it's because we try to break it down, because, I guess blockchain and decentralized finance speak are still a new language for so many. So let's talk about Aura Vision and its role, and why it's really essential for modern enterprise, but really why it may become absolutely, and I believe it is essential for big companies, small companies, and so many other businesses.
You want to go over like the Hammerhead security protocol?
Sure. Have you guys ever showed this version? Has this ever been on air before?
It's actually honestly, this is like fresh off the presses this morning. I mean,
okay. So for the audience, you're getting to see the fourth iteration of the Aura Vision hardware.
Will you mind moving?
So George, let's give them a solo, and they can hold it up as close as they can get it to the camera, so everybody can kind of see it.
There it is. So I can do the holding. You do the talking, Paul. So
yeah, exactly. Tilt it up a little bit if you can, Bob, so the audience can kind of just give it a tilt forward if you can to the audience.
Hang on one.
See the screen. Okay.
Oh, the power's off now. Yeah, sorry, we have power. It'll come back on, but you can see the general device. And there's going to be multiple devices that LedgerAI is going to be releasing, because we think the hardware is actually very critical for AI. So if you look at GPT-4, it's a website. That's fine. You can log in and that kind of thing. But the hardware here is going to appeal to a lot of our clients that want first kind of local security. So they don't want that data just being sent to GPT. I mean, it's not a coincidence that Microsoft has banned their programmers from even using GPT-4 to ask programming questions, because the information goes to Sam Altman essentially. And so there's this kind of realization that you have to be able to do it locally. So our device does the computations on the data that the companies are willing to share with us. It could be financial plans, it could be strategic plans, in any kind of format, PowerPoint, Excel, and then the local AI accelerator will understand that, and it has terabytes worth of local data.
So the data sets that it's using not only are available, I'm assuming that as AI, it sources some of the data sets off the internet. So if you were trying to do a comparison with competitors or otherwise a comparison analysis of your toughest competitors in the same vertical for a business. But the data sets, how many data sets does it pull from? And for let's say a CEO
Everything.
or a CFO or a CTO, how does he implement? He's got all this data. He wants to know it's secure. It's the proprietary formula for Coca-Cola. We'll just make something up. It's Coke. And they want to upload all their data to this. How is that implemented and how is it protected?
Well, I mean, remember, like, upload has like that connotation that you're like putting it to the web. Like this local device, like it stores it locally. So you're not uploading it anywhere outside of your premises. So
Gotcha.
it's extremely safe, and then the local AI processing will make sense of that. But it also still has touch points with like all the other AI models and obviously the news and, things that you can scrape off the web to like take that global knowledge with like that sensitive private knowledge and then be like, hey, and again, Aura is like designed for strategic advice. We're not saying like, Aura is like designed for telling you how to make Coca-Cola or anything like that. But it's going to give you like strategic advice that, whether you like it or not, that this is like what you should be thinking about, because Aura will be up 24/7, knows your business, knows like the sensitive details of what's going on in your business today and what you're planning on doing tomorrow. And then, okay, now that intersection is like, this is the time when Aura should like step in and say, hey, CEO, like you really have to take, you really have to like pay attention to this kind of thing that's happening in a global hotspot or, any other kind of thing, like something like, DeepSeek that just came out.
It feels like it's the ultimate proactive analysis tool.
How is that connected? You connected to your computer?
Yeah, like via Wi-Fi.
So I have a question, Lance, because this is so the encryption with it, because we just seen recently how the hackers from North Korea hacked into cold storage wallets, right? And which is they're supposed to be really protected. I don't know how they got in and how they did it. What's the security features on Aurora?
Yeah, so like the North Korean hack was, one of the more impressive ones they've done. They're actually pretty good hackers, but
the Lazarus Group, they're very sophisticated.
Yeah, they're very sophisticated. Like they're very underestimated by people. I mean, the NSA used to have like the dominion for this kind of field. And
I actually reached out to a source for them. I'm trying to get an interview. I don't know if it'll happen, but I'd love to interview those guys.
Yeah. So there was a lot of social engineering and kind of like man in the middle kind of attacks that were done in sequence. That's why the hardware device is really good because it's essentially like the ultimate two-factor auth. So when our customers use our currency, you have to be sitting at the desk. And that sounds like very simple, but the way that we do it is going to be very sophisticated. And unless you're sitting at literally the CEO's desk, you can't authorize or purchase or sale of like the Ledger token. So that's like another feature.
So
can I ask you a question? If you had let's just say, I want to give a real world example. If a CEO and a CMO and a CTO were all using this device, is there ways to compartmentalize some of the information? Let's say that the CEO didn't want the CMO to have certain information. Can you tell Aura that's restricted to only these two individuals? Does it give you that ability?
Good question.
Yep, absolutely. You could shard the data among like, various like levels of the organization.
Gotcha.
We want all people like in the company using it, but obviously like the first year analyst is not going to get access to like very sensitive financials right
Gotcha.
before they announce earnings for the quarter, right? So it's up to the CEO then to delegate, what facets of information that are available to the employees within his company, his or her company.
Gotcha. That's great. So look, George, I think this is a good time to play that video because we can take the audience from there. So let's go ahead and we're going to run this clip. We took this off your website. Here is Aura and of course LedgerAI in action.
Peter, this is Auravision. I apologize for waking you at 4:30, but there is an urgent situation in the Panama Canal. A ship is blocking the canal, and our shipment D347J59 is caught in the backlog. This could have significant repercussions for our manufacturing operations. I have already organized an emergency board meeting at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and am taking necessary actions as we speak. A car will pick you up at 7:30 a.m. Your CFO and COO can be notified upon your approval. Click on the notification for a detailed brief or open the LedgerAI app. Would you like me to proceed with any additional actions?
Create agenda for the meeting, please. Oh, and invite our associate from Panama to the meeting.
Would you like me to create the meeting agenda and invite Carlos Rivera to attend?
Yes.
Here is the draft agenda for the emergency board meeting. Carlos Rivera, logistics coordinator, has been included as an attendee. Do you approve the agenda?
I need one of those. But you know who can really benefit off of that? And sadly, he's not here. Is Kurt St. John's.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Kirk needs a couple of personal assistants. The way he operates, for sure. When you listen to that, it's so incredible that it's making so many proactive decisions. But of course, it's also asking for authorization once you confirm that that's the process it wants to do. I got to ask you this: did LedgerAI and Aura help create the commercial? Because it seems like it's so perfect that I'm wondering if you used AI, or at least your own organization, or did she lay out the actual mapping for the commercial and then you had to create it? Just curiosity question.
I think it was a lot of iterations of a script of making sure that it was explained correctly in a very short amount of time and very concise. But I mean, we had that, of course, professionally done. But other than the brilliance of the co-founders coming together and making sure it was described and all of us agreeing with it, I think that's what ultimately it came down to. So.
I'm thinking you should license Antonio Moss's voice. Get that British consultant kind of, because, of course, everybody thinks that the British, when you get that, everybody thinks they went to Cambridge or Oxford.
Actually,
so I think you need to give her a British voice.
No, actually, would it be possible to give people a choice of voices? Like if somebody wants a woman wants a guy's voice?
We were considering open tryouts actually to our crypto community of actually, coming in and being awarded ledger tokens if you were used as the voice. And
I can do it. Yeah. I got you.
I like it.
We've definitely been looking at this for a while, probably longer than I should have been looking at it. But a lot of the recent advances in a lot of great open source technology, you can just if somebody volunteers and they just talk for say 30 minutes, then you can steal that voice and just use it for.
Oh, that's great.
So
I love it. So let's talk about, I'm sure you guys are starting to onboard for testing reasons alone, but maybe you already have clients. Let's talk about how you're onboarding those clients, which sectors you're really focused on. And so far, what's the reception for Aura Vision and LedgerAI? Do you feel, because I looked at this last night and I thought for my own self, there was a bunch of different applications that I would be motivated, especially the proactive scheduling. Then I started thinking, well, could I train LedgerAI to make the phone calls to request interviews with people? I can give them different segments of the industry and say, well, I'd like these 5, find their information, track them down and call them. But go ahead.
Well, there wouldn't be an industry this wouldn't succeed in, I will say that. But where we focused and worked well, we've actually sourced and have an open relationship with our beta client, which is FRS, Financial Recovery Strategies, out of Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. Mike has been a tremendous partner. He's the CEO and founder of that company. They handle class action lawsuits around the United States for literally every single business class action lawsuit that's available. One of the bigger ones is the Visa MasterCard one, for example. It's $5.6 billion right now. And Michael's company is just attacking probably the largest market share of that. And he has literally 29 to 30,000 businesses in his company right now. So there was a method to my madness, and with the teams of obviously picking him and his brilliance of wanting to source 30,000 clients in a Salesforce database that's incredible to be able to take data and find new opportunities for those clients, which we've been doing. and building with Aura Vision to understand his business and use the internal data, and then mashing that up with opportunities that are out there on companies 10K or local state opportunities with unclaimed property or other things that might come up and be applicable to those clients in his database. And then, of course, he was of the brilliance that he loved it and wanted to be in so early that when it works for him, he's going to go sell it to all 30,000 clients and officially become obviously a partner. So.
Lance,
that's an incredible access. Go ahead, George.
Since we do a lot of beta testing for companies, we're beta testing a few right now. I mean, we'll take the Aura. We can use it and beta test it for you guys.
I can think of a bunch of applications.
Get on the wait list. It's
wait list. I know people.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I'm from New Jersey, bros. We're Jersey guys, man. Come on.
Bros before hoes. Come on, you got to hook up the New Jersey and New York boys first.
We're not gonna.
All right, but quick question. So you lead me to something. I have a creepy fixation with the law. Litigation is a major issue for everybody. Everybody's always wants to be, proactive in not getting into litigation. But the law is, in fact, I think it was MIT did a study not too long ago where they talked about how the legalese of the legal system and the complication is done intentionally. It could have been more transparent and cleared up by now. So I guess my question is, when you mentioned attorneys, and what I could see is an application to have a proactive, and I'm going to call her a paralegal for now, and I'm using her because she has a female voice so far. That's probably incorrect. I'm sure somebody in the pronoun world will get upset with me about that. Probably should be calling it they, them. We don't use pronouns. There's only two forms of biology on our show, so I'll make it clear. So, you've got LexisNexis, you've got Pacer, you've got unpublished, legal. For a law firm to have access to something that could proactively look at the most recent motion filed, let's talk about it in the terms of a criminal case with the Department of Justice, to have a proactive paralegal that can analyze a particular judge you might not have been in front of, his previous rulings, his previous final determinations in cases, and also for it to analyze every piece of data. Does it have the ability, can you get it access, or could you provide access? If you gave it access to LexisNexis or to a Pacer account, could it do that and preemptively say, well, your motion is flawed prior to having an attorney file it from a defense counsel? Could it do all that? And does it have the potential to advise you that the likelihood of your motion being successful or otherwise? Because for a law firm, of course, they have lots of paralegals, they have lots of overhead, and they have lots of opinions, but not necessarily do they have enough staff to even cover all the data. Because when you start looking at federal and state law across the country, you guys, I'm sure, over the years, as much business as you've done, you've had your own, times when you've had to look at the legal system or participate in it, maybe unhappily or happily so. Tell me, what are your thoughts on what it could do for just the legal world?
Yeah, so it's going to be all that and more. So it's kind of funny that you started this question where you have you have a creepy interest in the law, because it's going to be a little bit. It's so powerful that it's scary. Like that. That's like one of the things that I grapple with. Because I'll give you an example. So, if there's like some sort of legal proceeding within some county, and so fine, you can go through all the case law, go through all the precedents, go through the judge's bio and all the things that he or she did, for these things. But the people in the Aura network, it will understand what likely the jurors in that area would do just from listening, right? So you sense that all right, the trend is not your friend here right now. Just like when billionaires go case law, irregardless, if billionaire is not popular, you're going to lose the case, right? And it will know that within exquisite detail in every single jurisdiction, or from counties small to large, from cities
or even the politics of the division, the people, whether it's the prosecutor or the judge, because we've seen activist judges making decisions. So it would have the ability. Could it, for example, if you suggested that it goes out and looks at all the social media for the judge, all his associations with clubs. We've seen some ugly stuff coming out. All right, that music means we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I definitely want to delve into this because I think this is a real world application. Of course, the Crypto Power will be right back with Paul and Bob. We're going to be here with LedgerAI. More information. You're going to want to stay tuned because this is groundbreaking stuff, and you're getting it on the tip of the spear here. So appreciate you, George Balloutine, Lance Minaccio. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
As an American who keeps up with the real news, you know by now the severity of the economic issues that are plaguing our great nation. My name is Jonathan Rose, and I'm the CEO of Genesis Gold Group, the only major faith-driven company in the industry. 2024 is a year full of uncertainties, with trillions of dollars in national debt, inflation impacting your savings, and a pivotal election year. Your peace of mind is more valuable than ever. Now is the time to use physical gold and silver to preserve your hard-earned retirement savings with a gold IRA. Call Genesis Gold Group today. Our team has decades of experience helping folks just like you take their first step on the path to true financial freedom with a gold and silver IRA.
Call Genesis Gold Group today at 1-800-200-GOLD for a no-commitment, informative consultation with one of our experts to find out if we can be a fit for you. Call now at 1-800-200-4653 or visit genesisgoldgroup.com.
In a world of uncertainty, be prepared with Silver Prepper Bars, your ultimate hedge against political instability and economic turmoil. Introducing the Silver Prepper Bar, crafted from 0.999 pure silver and proudly made in the USA. This tangible, divisible asset can come in handy even in the toughest of times. Portable, perforated, and easily tradable, the Silver Prepper Bar is your lifeline in times of crisis. When facing inflation, currency devaluation, and financial meltdown, Silver Prepper Bars provide peace of mind. Don't wait for disaster to strike. Secure your future today with the exclusive Silver Prepper Bar, the only silver bar on the market divisible into 3 different size pieces for maximum utility, all while fitting in your wallet. The smart choice for savvy investors and preppers alike. With Silver Prepper Bars, you're ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Hi folks, I'm here today to introduce you to the Prepper Bar from PrepperBar.com, the most unique precious metals product we have seen in a long time. These 62-gram bars are perforated and easily broken down into your choice of 3 different sizes to fit a multitude of needs. Whether it be from asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or its unique utility for barter and trade, the Prepper Bar makes a perfect gift for all the precious metal lovers out there. Exclusively made here in the USA and selling out fast. Available in both gold and silver, these slim Prepper Bars fit neatly in your wallet, and their utility enables use in any situation. As gold and silver prices continue to surge and top economists predict upcoming shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals in the form of Prepper Bars. Go to PrepperBar.com now and place your order before supply runs out and prices go up. All payment methods accepted. Order your Silver Prepper Bars now at PrepperBar.com. Silver Prepper Bars, ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Order now.
All right, welcome back to the Crypto Power Hour, powered by Solon Global. Here we your host, Lance Minaccio, George Balloutine, and our 2 guests, Paul Chou, CEO and co-founder of LedgerAI. And then we got Bob Carella, no Italian name there, Lance, CFO and co-founder of LedgerAI. Right before the break, we were talking about, how can Aurora work within the criminal system, like with, bypassing lawyers in the sense, because a lot of information is put into it. Before I get to that, we see when you even talk about Chat GPT, the AIs, how they're biased, and they're biased either towards medical things or political, whatever it is. How does that work with, let's say, Aurora or other ones? Is
It's Aura, George. It's Aura Vision.
Aura Vision. Sorry. Does it just self-learn, or what do you got?
I think, fundamentally, bias is, making a decision, having an opinion, in a lot of ways, right? So Aura will definitely have biases towards the right decision. People can look at that, depending on, what background you have, like that's not like the right kind of tilt to have. But in the end, it has to make a call, so let's just take like a kind of like a, Democrat versus Republican kind of thing. Forget about like the politics, but the issues in the end, like, if you asked her like to make a call based on all the data that she's ingested from the Aura network, then somebody's always going to call her like a Republican, or somebody's going to say you're biased to like them. So I just don't think that we should be thinking about it that way, right? And it's also important to remember that traditional AIs have been trained from all human data, like not all of it, but like most of it. And it shouldn't surprise you that like AI can be racist sometimes and have a bias.
Yeah.
No,
Can
we can't.
can we take Auravision and put her in Congress and have her write up all the bills and laws that favor the United States, not favor every other country and other nations, and and not have all these sneaky things? Is that possible?
Yeah, well, it would be up to the Congress to like allow that kind of thing. But I'll give our example in the sense that like my goal is to have the chairman of our board to be an AI, actually, like Aura, actually. And I think that'll be a really groundbreaking event, like a real, like, we're a real Delaware.
What's important about that decision, though? So, like, I think you should talk about real quick. Like, if you have a board with 6, members making a decision, now you need a 7th. Why is that an important thing in boards today?
Yeah, absolutely. So like the ideal for our company is to have a 7-person board person. It would be 6 people that are co-founders and other folks, and then Aura could be the chair of the board, the 7th one. And so if you have like a deadlock between like 3 humans that are bitter at the other 3 humans, which happens
a lot. In the
Yeah, I mean, it just happens in Congress. You get 50-50 split. Okay, ahead. This is good.
Exactly, right. And so like Aura would, with the knowledge that the organizations are giving it, will understand the situation, take the emotion out of it, and can cast like the tie-breaking vote, basically, as the chair.
Or a vision for president one day. It's possible. It could happen.
It's all about me.
It's interesting because that's a devil's advocate unit. It's the same thing that Israeli intelligence uses. Kind of like the 10th man concept, that no matter what the other 9 decide, the 10th man would create the situation. So to have an overseer like AI to analyze what even a board recommendation would be, and to be able to really sift through not only the recommendations, but all the data sets that determine those recommendations, I can't imagine how many better decisions would be made. Because let's face it, there's still the human error factor, no matter what we deal with now, when you're not dealing with, right? There's that, and all of us have dealt with it. I'm sure you guys saw it in companies even like Binance or other companies you were involved in, where human error cost the company potentially millions of dollars, or like we were discussing, lawsuits. To have the analysis of all the data, somebody files an indictment or somebody files a civil action or a class action, to have Aura Vision be able to analyze that, LedgerAI to go through all the details. What do you think the accuracy, if you had to apply in a percentage of accuracy, and I guess no decision can be 100%, but the accuracy, if you compared, let's say a lead counsel for a company, and you took Aura Vision and ran it parallel, and I know we can only determine, they always say about a judge, you can never trust a man in a dress. So I know you still have the human factor of the adjudication or a jury. But if you were going to talk about Aura Vision versus a very experienced lead counsel, what do you think the accuracy of, filing correctly and not getting sued, not getting cross-litigated, what do you think Aura Vision can improve in efficiency? Is it a 13%, 15%, 80%? I mean, what do the numbers look like? Do you guys have any concept of that?
Yeah, so I would reframe this question, which is that first, it could do the normal stuff, like just looking up case law and things like that. That's not that difficult. But, the goal for LedgerAI in our flagship Aura project is that, like, one of the things I always tell people is that, the worst advice is like the right advice that somebody doesn't take. And so Aura's goal is to push that person. So when you think about accuracy, it's like, all right, it's one thing to say it's like, objectively right. But it's another thing if Aura can walk them through and nudge them in the same way a good friend would walk the right decision. And Aura will do that. That's I think that's like the really cool stuff that's that's like the secret sauce.
And I think I have to walk you back. You're right. Looking up case law is not that difficult, but you have to count on the fact that the attorney did the work. We've all seen those bills that come through 0.15, walk to the water cooler, 0.10, faxed the client, 0.20, called the client 4 times, no answer. We've all seen this kind of billing practice. I'm being extreme, but at the end of the day, we're also assuming.
LedgerX, like we had a $500,000 bill, and I looked at every single line item. It's like, I don't think they did anything for this. So we just.
You want to know something? And that's exactly my point. That's where I think the efficiency of this, because we can really guarantee one thing about Ledger, AI and Aura Vision when they're working, is that they are going to look at all the case law. We're assuming that attorney didn't go golfing all weekend and then he had a motion that was due on Monday and he rushed it out using some cookie cutter, because there isn't anybody that has looked at motions previously or been in any kind of litigation whatsoever and not said, well, this is a real piece of crap. This guy clearly didn't spend any time on this. You could take those motions now as an example. I've been testing this thing, looking at lots of criminal cases and running it through different chat programs from defense counsel and from prosecutors. In general, the prosecutors, here's a statistic you guys might not know, and this LedgerAI could dead stop this. This is why I think there's so much value in just this one vertical. And we're only talking about one industry right now. If you go look at the filings by prosecutors, and you take all the motions that they've done to a reply, so whether it's an indictment comes through and then the prosecutor replies, in 100% of all replies, there is misapplied, misquoted, or misinterpreted law used by the Department of Justice, as an example. I didn't look at state cases, I looked at federal, 100% of the time. And in those cases, anywhere from as low as 15% of the time to as much as 80% of the time, that's how much of the law was misapplied, misinterpreted, misquoted, or altered to fit their narrative. Now, in responses from defense counsel, the majority of responses, if they respond at all, are cookie cutter motions that don't look at the newest law that's passed or otherwise. So you would be surprised at the laziness and the negligence, if you really start to analyze it. And you can use AI to analyze anything I'm suggesting, and you can fact check me on this. You're going to find out that, and this is what I see here, the value of this is incredible, especially in this vertical, because of negligence and laziness. So I can't imagine if we started comparing it to all the other industries. I don't have enough knowledge about the other industries.
Oh, it's the same idea. Yeah, there's a lot of like laziness in the Defense Department as well. Not to pick on that, but and like the way that work could really help is it's always, again, trying to give you advice that you're going to take, and then if you're part of the Aura network and say you're going through some sort of like legal issue, it could connect the dots and say, hey, there are actually 40 other people around you that had the same problem. Maybe you guys should do like a class action or something like that, and then
that's interesting, right?
And so then
Yeah.
draft it up for you, as the argument kind of thing.
And that's serious, because that and to me,
especially for like underserved neighborhoods kind of thing, right? So sorry.
No doubt. I mean, there's no doubt, because at the end of the day, even to having looked at all the data sets and be able to suggest it, you've got a counsel now that looked at the information. You don't have to worry about that counsel or this assistant went golfing all weekend or went drinking on Friday and Saturday and was too hungover to really pay attention to what was going on in your business. So this is like having a 24/7, 365 combined personal assistant, security guard, lead counsel, top advisor is what it seems like to me. I mean, at least that's my take. But let's talk. I want to switch up here a little bit. You guys are talking.
It's also like even if the counsel is not purposely negligent or like incompetent, which are often both, but sometimes they take vacations and now all of a sudden you're like 2 weeks behind because like they lost the context, while the guy was Hawaii, right? And it's not that he's like incompetent or doesn't want to work on it, but all of a sudden, some pressing issue is only the lead counsel has the real context, and then the client is now just like stuck waiting. And sometimes the client doesn't have a lot of time. So Aura never ever
Well, there's always a timeline on litigation in most cases. So and there's no doubt we've all dealt with that, where you met with an attorney and he got so busy he kind of forgot what was previously discussed in a meeting, and now you're paying again. I can't imagine the cost savings, because now you're paying again. You could even preemptively have Auravision call counsel and say, our last meeting had these final points, because you could have it taking notes, and they could remind them that this is exactly what we went over. We don't need another meeting. You need to make a determination on the following from the previous meeting. I can't imagine, maybe that $500,000 bill of yours could have been 100 instead of an extra 400.
It goes to zero,
Yeah, no kidding. Let's talk about the crowded space, of all these so-called AI crypto tokens. We know that we've seen it even in the meme coin market, that AI is, people are trying to integrate because they're trying to create tokens that have value beyond something that's just fabricated. We've seen lots of altcoins. We know this is coming forward. What sets the LedgerAI apart from the rest, both in technology and in vision in the crypto AI crypto token vertical?
I'll let Bob answer that, but first, we're not going to say a lot of things, but there's a lot that's the part. But wait.
Yeah, don't give away any proprietary secrets, because we're getting thousands of views on Rumble. We probably got 4,000 or 5,000 in the live, maybe more right now. So there are people listening.
So it's funny what's happened in the space, obviously, in the last 9 months, especially. But when we initially were looking to create the Ledger token, we took our time, we handled things appropriately, had a very limited pre-sale, making sure we were using accredited investors, and assuming that going through the Howey test results and making sure that we were developing something that wasn't going to trip as a security, because this is a true commodity and utility.
Right.
So when we built Ledger, we had that in mind, and how to use that and incorporate it with our product, because we wanted a true utility. So when you think of comparing it to, you could go on the NYMEX and pre-purchase, gas to fund your business. We wanted that same model where institutions need to go out, pre-purchase the Ledger token and then use it for the compute power and the proactiveness and interacting with, Project Hammerhead, to be able to use it in the Auravision network. So Ledger.
This is a great example, because I'm sorry, I don't mean to
interrupt. This is what we always do.
Because there's this interesting interplay between the utility guys and the speculators, right? I mean, there are certain people that just buy oil on the spot because they need to get to work, fill their car with gasoline,
right.
And then there are people that at places like that I used to work at, that just hold it because they just hope it's going to go higher, and that's actually a very healthy dynamic. So, you have the speculators that just, for oil, that just buy it and hold the future. They have no intention of burning it to keep their families warm. And then you have families that need to keep their families warm, and so that's the kind of thing that Bob is referencing.
And the other piece, because if you think of people say, oh, it's an expensive, well, this is a global token. This is for businesses in every country where you want to interact. Fractionalizing money can really only be done efficiently with crypto. And the ability to be able to take a fractional piece of something, and you think about that lawyer bill, right? 0.2 hours, that's still a sizable rate. Maybe they did 30 seconds of work, and that is 0.2. You actually, because this is captured on the blockchain and being able to interact with the product, you're able to go and break it down to a level that nobody else would, but we're looking for overall usage and to hammer home that efficiency. So Ledger, we launched, in September of last year. We've set ourselves apart because I also believe, like I talked about with my Ray Kroc hat on, the marketability and the Ledger itself, and putting that on the Ethereum blockchain, which we still strongly believe in ERC20. And that's not saying we aren't interested in other layer one opportunities to use or attach ourselves to a potential stable coin in some way. I know a couple of people, right?
A few people.
So there's definitely some interest in thinking that direction. But now, for the most part, with our clients pre-purchasing this Ledger token, holding it on their balance sheet, FRS openly bought $25,000 in the Ledger token sitting on their balance sheet right now. That's ahead of Bitcoin. I mean, it is so impressive that someone thought, because we know we're not accepting Bitcoin to fractionalize down, we're accepting Ledger. It's only as good as what you're using. And we're finding the right utility, and that's what's really separating us apart. And that narrative is going to be very, very strong. And then going all the way back to the previous days with Paul and, how long we've been in crypto, we're certainly setting ourselves apart from others in the industry of, how to do this right with the corporate hat on, and then also the blockchain and crypto. So
let me answer this quickly, if I may.
No, please.
So we've talked a lot about the utility aspect of Ledger and, using it to fuel like Aura. And the example I would always give my friends when they're really trying to figure out what we're doing is that, I knew friends in college when they're at 18 that I knew they were going to be partners at McKinsey one day, and they're dirt poor. And so like, if you go to your buddy who's a freshman, is like, hey, why don't I give you like $1,000 today, and so that at any time I can call in the favor where I get like 10 billable hours from you, and then 10 years later he's billing $1,000 an hour. So that was an investment in his growth. And Aura's intelligence is the same thing. If you buy like the Ledger token, what you're betting on is that the value of that intelligence is going to grow higher over time, if that makes sense. So
no, it makes total sense. What about one of the big concerns we've seen it come up more as of late, because of course we've got the administration making some big moves, and we've got an administration finally that seems to be proactive in the crypto world, at least by all outward signals. That's where they're heading. What about transparency for your guys' coin?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a totally open. We built this entire community behind us, number one, and strategically did it to give the little guy a chance in the crypto world to ultimately, sell later on to institutions for that usage. But transparency as a leadership, we consistently have AMAs. We have our second version of our white paper that's going to be very elaborative coming out in the next 5 to 7 days, and we consistently do things that are not happening in the space. Of course, just our presence, going on shows like this, talking through the product, explaining things, taking feedback back from the community. I mean, we have enacted so many things from this brilliant 2000, Telegram group community that we built, that the traditional crypto tokens have done, and really started to explode that and use their ideas from their own, personal experiences within companies. And that transparency is certainly starting to come through, as we start to enact things and show them.
Well, let me throw this last question at you, because I want the audience to. Where do you guys see? You got, of course, the best executives, especially ones being advised by AI, are always looking ahead. What do you think the long-term mission for LedgerAI, and what do you see as some of the important, at least short-term and mid-term key milestones that you envision on this path to achieving your main goal?
I mean, the vision is like very simple. We want to have something that is able to like aggregate, unique insight from all the people in the network that isn't available, guide people to, for any kind of stripe, to better decisions. And also, like, again, like, guide them is like the kind of thing that we think about a lot. It's not just like telling them. It's like, it's just kind of telling somebody like, okay, you gotta stop eating fat, or, that kind of thing. They might not do it, right? But, like, so AI will be good at walking you through the steps in the way that it understands you, in the context, carefully, and not like be, browbeating you with this kind of advice that, it's just expected you to take. So in terms of milestones, I mean, I think, I think I want like healthcare, really involved, education, Defense Department, pretty much everything, I guess, at this point, like, and 2-person law firms, like, we've like, I'm like a person that runs like a 2 or 3-person law firm, and I can just see exactly how they would use it, and they love it right now too. They're waiting for one of these units. So the milestone is just when our customers like just get better results. That, from my point of view.
And meaning short term, working with FRS and bringing that to fruition of, what we've been developing the last few months behind the scenes. They've been a tremendous partner and cracking in the following midterm plan into their, monster client database, and being able to explain that, continue to raise funds to enhance this AI, build out the corporate structure of this team. The other thing that we haven't really talked about that I think is just important to talk is the experience we've had, especially myself, Paul, and David, have been in corporate America and known how to build things, and also you have to live it to also see where the opportunity areas are. I'm not going to knock anything that I've had some poor leadership in my career, but finding out and seeing where those holes were, and you mentioned it earlier, when you go on an IPO ride and you see how much of an effort and lift that experience is, you start to see all the things you could have done when you started building the company, and doing those things that we've built the last year since we started this company. We've put so many things in place that companies don't even think about until 5-10 years down the road in traditional. Yeah. And
well, I think the ability of having somebody that can look proactively forward, but also look at those decisions made by other companies and look at the consequences of those decisions. Nobody's ever done it, but I think there's a way to strengthen it. I think if you give AuraVision Tony Soprano's voice and have it throw some of that barking at some of the staff, you might be able to get them to do more. You can maybe take out more of the human error. Maybe we can combine some fear with AuraVision, and that way things will get done the way they're supposed to get done. You don't have to worry about attorneys cheating you.
Different voices in different scenarios.
Yeah,
it's like that.
Exactly. The application has to be when you get that $500,000 bill from that law firm and they think you screwed you, you have AuraVision call in Tony Soprano's voice and discuss the bill with them for a discount.
It's interesting that, a lot of the data that we're taking is like emotion tagged, so that again, the goal is to guide them to the right decision. So if that requires like a tonality that's a little bit more aggressive. Like I can't do it to a soprano voice, but otherwise, but if you have to be more gentle, then it's going to choose that way to approach, giving that same outcome. Like its goal is to get you to, like, the best decision possible.
Well, to get the best outcome, what's incredible about it, what I'm thinking in my own head is, let's face it, and I assume with some kind of authorization, it could have a psychological profile on every staff member. Not, I always say in business, you have to go to the toolbox for the right tool. You never grab a screwdriver when you need a hammer. At the end of the day, everybody deals with it differently. George and I, we always kid around. We have really thick skin. Of course, when you grow up in New Jersey and New York, I grew up in Fordham Road in the Bronx. We grew up chopping on each other. So for somebody to really get under my skin, it's nearly impossible. And of course, because of my background, having worked for multiple governments in different countries and a bunch of other stuff that I was involved in years ago, I'm a tougher nut. I'd rather have somebody just tell me really directly. So I wouldn't want AuraVision to fudge around. I would just want it to just tell me immediately, hey, this is a dumb decision, and here's why.
What you really think. And some people have thin skins, so then it would
correct.
Right, it would be a very different approach. So
that intuitive piece of this is so high value. I can't imagine. Well, I want to make sure people know how to keep track of you. I want you to share, and then we can talk about the administration a little bit, but I don't want to run out of time and not get this in. So maybe, give them the website address, I always call this the shameless plug period. So, share your social media, because again, I think it's, nowadays that's the number one way people keep on top of companies, because there's an opportunity. And I don't know, is there an opportunity at this point? Is there an opportunity for people to be able to invest in Ledger AI? I don't even know if that's out there, if you guys are doing anything on capital.
So absolutely, you could always visit ledgerai.co. It's not .com, it's .co for the company, and you're able to access and get information on how to actually go out and purchase the ERC20 Ethereum token, tradable through Uniswap at this point. So if you had a MetaMask wallet,
what's it trading at right now? Just curiosity.
So roughly a 7 million market cap. So
gotcha. Okay.
And you'll like some of the tokenomics behind it too, which are pretty interesting. So the actual total supply of it is 3.14 billion. And obviously we went out as far as we could. 3.14 might sound familiar since, we wanted to use pi and have some interesting.
I was just going to ask you that.
So we have some interesting little Easter eggs, around, some things that we've done.
See that.
Think about the brilliance of the token, but yes, you're able to go in and purchase that out on the decentralized exchanger. Now we are in talks with central exchanges of working through it. Also, it does help that Paul was in the early days when there were only 3 people at Coinbase and sitting on Brian Armstrong's desk. So we could always tap and work, certain angles as well at the right times to be on those central exchanges, which we're in heavy conversations with now. And then also for our socials, Instagram and X is LedgerAI_Aura, AURA. So.
And any personal social medias you guys want to share that's out there?
You'll laugh at mine on Instagram. I'm the chief lunch officer. I've always, that's part of my.
I feel like that often. Chief lunch officer, janitor. Isn't that how entrepreneurs operate? We wear the everything hat.
But I love, lunch with, going and enjoying networking. That's how I built a lot of my relationships, in the past. Very extensive lunches, but they've always been productive, and I've made a lot of great introductions to
I
people.
look forward to our lunch next week then.
Go,
Yeah.
George. Yeah, we'll
I
pick
think
a-
the networking is key nowadays. I think more is done through what I would consider some of the casual relationships you develop. You know, it's always important to have that powerful Rolodex. In our case, for us, for our show, having access to people is 90% of the battle. Because, of course, otherwise they're just listening to George and I, and, you know, that may be something that they enjoy, but other times it might not be. So, Paul, what about you? Your social media, where do they find you?
I think they can find me anytime they want. I'll pass.
You want to know the best place to get him, actually? Because I've never seen a CEO or a leader so involved. I don't even know when he sleeps, to be honest, and he'll
Yeah.
never admit that. But
That's
he
the Elon Musk model, isn't it? You don't
on
sleep.
Telegram. I've never seen someone so intrigued, and he is behind the Ledger AI company Telegram. So maybe you could plug that.
Yeah, so Telegram. I'll do the Twitter thing with Paul_Chou, CHOU. So,
Okay.
you know,
And then, of course, Telegram, they can find Ledger AI and Telegram. That should be relatively easy. Well, first, I
Bob,
want to
hold
thank
on,
you
Lance.
guys.
Bob, Paul's like, just when I thought I got out, they pulled me back in.
Exactly.
That's right.
You know, but that is how it works. Nowadays, it's funny how many times people reach out to us, you know, for our regular show over on Rumble. And of course, that's our home base for the show. If you guys like the show today in the audience, of course, thumbs up, comment, share, like, do whatever you can, get the voice out there. And if you're not subscribed to the Crypto Power Hour by now, well, shame on you. Coming over here to get great information, it's time to subscribe. I'm not talking about a paid subscription. You can just do the free subscription for now. It's a tough economy. I get it. What we want to do is get that voice out there. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Locals. We're all over the place. George, what else have we got? Anything else I need to share?
Nope. It's the weekend. It's the last show of the day. You all stay blessed. Enjoy the weekend. We'll catch you next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern for Crypto Power Hour. Ciao.